Alright guys, let's talk a little bit about last week, and then I'm gonna go into what we could potentially see this week. So last week, almost every blue chip name was pretty much green. This is the weekly on the right, daily in the middle, top left is 4 hour, and bottom left is monthly. So right now we're looking at NVIDIA. Um, I've spoken about how the market moves in ranges, so let's look at it like this. So right now we have this range on NVIDIA. This is a smaller range. So we failed to, sorry, let's change this. This was the previous range low. Last week we broke right below it and we held. Now this is a failed breakdown of the previous range low. And now we are coming back up. What's most likely to happen is since we failed to break down, we're going to try to make a new high. Now that doesn't mean that, hey, we can't sell off. It's just, that's just how a range works. We failed to break the low. Now we're going to go try to break the high of the range. Looking at NVIDIA, like I said last week, we are coming near the monthly 50 moving average, which was really important because we haven't um, gotten near it or touched it in about 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. So we definitely will have buyers down here defending this area. Plus, we have this consolidation slash previous range high from late October. You know, buyers are going to step in over here. Looking at the daily, we closed above the 9 moving average at the end of the week, which is huge. So now buyers have some momentum in their hands. Going into yeah, this week we are going into, no, July 4th is next week. So this is the last week of June. I do think that the bulls are gonna try to hold this thing up. I think we can see another touch of the 50 moving average by the end of the month. That's just a few days. What are we, like 15 points away? Yeah. Let's look at Meta. Now, Meta is basically in sell mode, but if we look at the monthly, now we are really approaching some lows. I'm sure a lot of uh, trend and pattern traders are going to be looking at this right over here. They're going to be looking at that on a higher time frame, saying, hey, we could have some support here, and obviously, clearly, buyers are showing up. So looking at Meta, let's look at the current range we're in. So we broke down from the range on Thursday, and then on Friday sorry, this is a weekly. So we broke down last week, and then we broke down the low again, but we got bought right back up. Now we're back in the range. We closed above the previous low, which is pretty significant. This is a very nice failed breakdown. Beautiful doji candle or shooting star or whatever anybody wants to call it. I mean, it's definitely a solid bull bar. Now we're pretty far from the moving average. We're about I'd say 20 points. That could be where the bulls are headed. The 9 moving average on the weekly is actually where the 50 moving average on the daily is. And as you can see, every time we've pushed up into it on the daily chart, we've pretty much sold off. This is where the buyers meet resistance from the sellers on the higher time frame, and um, that's just what we've been seeing for the past, what is it, 4 times. And I do think that if we don't close uh, lower than this previous low on the monthly on Meta, I do think we can test back into 240. and by that time the moving average will probably be around I'd say 220-ish, so we'll probably meet some resistance there. So we are gonna try to break this 200 resistance. Obviously there's gonna be sellers at 200, whole number, psychological level, yada yada and all that, but I do think that this has been sold off enough, and we could move higher. Now let's move into AMD. Let's let the 4-hour load. So AMD over here, let's create that range on the weekly again. So I would say that this was the previous range we had. Now over here, this was the previous range we had. We sold off, we reclaimed, and then we got sold right after we came back in. So now we're going to try to get back in. Let's just say that the bottom of the range is 100. It makes sense, since above there will be buyers, below going into it there's going to be sellers. Again, um, psychological level, the 100 level, all that stuff, yada yada. Looking at the monthly, again, just like all these large caps, we haven't touched or been near the 50-month moving average in a very long time. So that is where buyers will come in. Plus, we have this previous low over here, which is at about 75. We couldn't get down there. We broke just below 80, like 79.50, something like that, and then we got bought right back up. So it's interesting where AMD is. We closed basically right on the 9 moving average on the daily on Friday. We had a little higher low, and we're pushing up right now. So we could pretty much look at this as one leg, pullback, second leg, and now there could be some consolidation. We can run up a little pullback and potentially look to make some new highs. Maybe we can try to get above this 112 level. But again, if this, looking at the monthly, um, if this month, June, closes above the bottom, uh, the lows from the previous 2 months, then we failed to break the range, as in we failed to move lower. So now we could potentially look to move higher. Again, that's how a range works. We can't break the bottom of the range, we're going to go and test the high of the range. We can't break that, we come back down. It's just ping-ponging back and forth. That's how I see the markets. Other people may have other things, but this is how I look at them. Let's look at Amazon. Amazon's monthly looks insane over here. Just insane consolidation. Fail breakout. Fail breakout. Fail breakdown. Consolidating at like from, what is this, July 20 to, yeah, it's about 2 years of consolidation. Insane. And now we are back at the 50-month moving average. We're below it, but I mean, these bull bars clearly show that there's some buying going on, especially with the split and how the price is basically $100. It's readily available for more people to push some money into it. Let's look at the daily and the weekly. The daily, now we are above the 9 moving average again. Momentum is kind of in the buy side, but looking at this, we have a nice range over here. Let's bring this lower, right there. And I mean, we can do the same thing on a daily. It's a little easier to see like that. Okay, right here. So we have a $30 range. 100 being the low, 130 being the top. Now we are just bouncing around in here. Clearly we bounced off the lows once, twice, about 3 times over here. Now we're gonna go test the high. I would be looking to potentially sell 125/130 area. We are moving into the 50-day moving average. There could be sellers over there, but this weekly looks pretty strong. Just looking at it from this week's point of view, yes, we have the 9 moving average coming up, but the first attempt at a pullback into the 9 moving average got sold pretty hard, but we held the lows. So now we're gonna try to go back up there. Let's look at the SPY. Last week I was speaking about how we could potentially get bought up at the 50-month moving average on the SPY around 360 to 375. That's where buyers will be. It lines up with the other large caps, the other larger names that we just went over, and every time we basically touch or get near or kind of dip below the 50-month moving average on the SPY and the Qs, buyers come in and hold ground. Now, that has happened um, late 2019, early 2020, and now, so far. Obviously, we could fail, we could go lower, we could bounce from here, but this was just an area to potentially bounce for now. Until previous price action is invalidated, we just use it. That's all that really is to think about. Obviously we closed pretty strong off Friday. Little push right off the 9 moving average on the daily. This was a strong weekly close. Everything is pointing towards the bulls for this coming week. To really hold up June, and then going into July 4th. Um, the I think the bulls are in favor.